Imagine if that head trash was not there. Who would you be? What if I told you those fears were no longer a problem? What would you do? I'm Stephanie Costello, a mom of three, wife, and avid mountaineer. Beyond all of these, I am very much like you, an average person trying to navigate this thing we call life. My goal with this podcast is to bring to light the truth about what intimacy really is. You may smile, feel called out, or learn something new. Either way, you will learn you are in control. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Mr. Nick Ferrioli, owner of Elm City Coaching. Nick's passion is to shift the mindset of his clients. As a core energy coach, he helps clients identify desired goals, and he is highly skilled at working with those clients to break through any blocks to achieving those goals. Nick's clients also discover how their past experiences have formed beliefs that are holding them back. He works with them to re-engineer those beliefs so they can achieve greatness. All right, all right. Hello, Mr. Nick, and welcome to the Intimacy Truth Podcast. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Awesome. I'm so excited to talk about today's topic, which is focusing on betrayal and betraying ourselves and how we do that in our lives. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into coaching other individuals.
Yeah, so my name is Nick Ferriolo. I'm the owner of Elm City Coaching. What got me involved was when I was in the corporate world. I was coaching staff and how I changed their lives and how they changed mine. Mm-hmm. To have people have the ability and the tools to look within and say, you know, my gremlin or my inner critic is telling me something that's not true, which your gremlin, which I call it, also attaches to there's no self-love. You know, I didn't love myself. I betrayed myself in every relationship I was in because I allowed that unhealthy relationship to go on just because to feel the need to be with somebody. And of course, you know this, and I'll be open to your podcasters that I'm a transgender guy. And, you know, I'm not talking for all transgender people, but for me, I had to find somebody that would love me, but I never thought anybody would love me because of that. So I call them my hope relationships, that I was almost with people that would just, you know, kind of get me to a point, you know, I would take them on dates but they would only want to be friends, but they would keep coming back. And when I talk about self-betrayal, it's that my part of my soul was left every time they just left me.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you say betrayal, because oftentimes when we're perceiving betrayal in our world, we're thinking this person is betraying me. And oftentimes we don't ask the next question, which is, how am I allowing them to betray me, right? What part of the situation am I playing so that I can pause and take a look at my own behaviors and make the shifts? Your inner gremlin, I use the term head trash. So often time, a lot of my listeners will hear us talking about head trash, and I often will refer to, that's your shit, this is my shit, now let's meet each other in the middle because we both have it, right?
Exactly.
Let's not let this crap in our head take control and own our ourselves, our relationships, everything in our world. So it's really awesome that you took your experience of feeling betrayed, betraying yourself, and working through that significant transition where the world betrays you on an endless basis.
Exactly. You know, I allowed that unhealthy does not see unhealthy.
Yeah.
So when I'm in an unhealthy relationship, I don't see it because I'm unhealthy.
Right.
So you look, I always pick the strays, the people that I felt needed help, you know, just to make me go, don't work on yourself, just focus on them.
Yeah.
And how do you think that worked out?
Right, exactly.
And I always said, you know, I want a healthy relationship. Well, all the healthy people see unhealthy, so I would never be in a healthy relationship until I got healthy.
Yeah, and those
of
us. Sorry.
Go ahead. The courage to dig deep. I don't saint myself when I talk about past relationships. I own my stuff. I was judgmental in some relationships. You know, I just allowed this unhealthy relationship just to keep going and going and going and going. It wasn't good for either person involved.
Something
But
I
for me,
refer myself to as I'm a recovering people pleaser, recovering rescuer. Sounds like you're also the same,
yeah,
in the sense where uh, I think there's definitely versions of struggling with if you have an unhealthy behavior pattern or perspective, and then trying to see healthy in somebody else's. You're right. That's definitely a challenge in relationships. There's another challenge too, though, where there's parts of, okay, well, if I see this piece healthy and this piece unhealthy, or maybe I don't see the unhealthiness yet, but then there have a healthy, right? It's so much more, it feels more complex when we're bonding in relationships. And how do we recognize, like, okay, if I'm perceiving someone as is betraying me, what part of that is my irrational mindset, right? And then what part of that is my rational mindset? What part of it do I need to own that I need to take care of? And then what part of it is they need to also shift their behaviors because maybe they're not acting in a way that you desire to be with somebody, right? So one of your things was be friends, but keep coming back. And you continuously accepted them to come back as just being friends, right?
exactly. But being friends, taking them to dinner, paying for spas,
Yeah.
all this stuff. Because here's the kicker. As much as you fight for somebody, if I did get that person, I would never think they were going to stay anyway.
Mm,
It would be that constant battle to keep
yeah.
once you got. Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely. It absolutely.
So when I think about self-betrayal in a relationship, when I walked away from these relationships, again, I left a piece of my soul. In relationships, you should compromise.
Yes.
You give a little, I take a little. But when you leave part of you in that relationship, that's self-betrayal. And that's, for me, that's the worst form of self-abuse, is self-betrayal. Because if it continues with, oh, why did I do it? And you replay and replay and replay and replay. You could be replaying that moment for years. That moment could go into a new relationship if you're not healthy enough to get into a relationship. So you're actually looking through your old relationship to your new relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a relationship that this woman would constantly talk and react to me, because of her ex. And one night we were having dinner and I set 3 plates and she goes, so who's coming over? I said, your ex, he's always here. Because when you're not ready to move forward, you bring all that with you.
Yeah.
And, but a lot of people need to have somebody to love them and don't take the time to heal themselves from a past relationship before they get into a new one.
Mm. And it's interesting too. There was something earlier what you were mentioning. I didn't. Usually when I take notes, so I can hold on to what I was thinking. I was just having this conversation with somebody about when you said the word compromise earlier, and in relationships. Well, what does compromise look like? Well, it looks like it's different for everybody. It depends on what your values are. It depends on what your strengths are. It depends on what you want to bring to the table and what you want to receive from the table. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the piece of wanting and deserving to receive from the table. And I was having a conversation with a client who is very much of the perspective that I have to give 100% every single time. No less than 100% is good. Otherwise, I'm falling back. Otherwise, I'm not right. I'm not doing good enough. And then they're sitting back wondering, well, why am I being betrayed all the time? Like this, in this environment, and I'm being betrayed here. And if I do X, then this is going to happen there. And they're making all these assumptions and having all these endless stories in their head. And it's like, no, pause and just wait a minute. Wait and see stop and look at how you're giving of 100%. There's going to be times where we're going to give and we're not going to be able to receive. We all have different strengths, right?
Exactly.
It's my strength. You're going to receive from my strength, but I'm also going to receive from your strength because that's how relationships work. I'm not going to equally be able to give to you if you are a coach that works specifically with transgender individuals. Like I can't give that to people. I can't give that to clients, but I can give to trauma survivors or to those who are recovering addicts or whatever it might be, right? Moms, I can give to a mom 110% in those relationships. But what are we going to receive? Maybe not in the coaching relationship, but in personal relationships.
Yeah.
Finding that middle ground.
It's funny when you say, like, for me, my sweet spot in coaching is the gremlin work.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're trans, straight, bi, it doesn't matter.
It's true. Yes.
And when you say, it's kind of funny when you said, assumptions. So what feeds the gremlin is assumptions, interpretations, which interpretations is that little story you make up in your head.
Well,
Here's a
also the story from your previous relationships, like you had said.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
here's a quick, really example of a really cool interpretation that happened to me. It's kind of funny, so I figured I'd share.
Okay.
I'm on a date. 3 weeks in, I just, transitioned. I just changed my name. I didn't do any other, any medical, hormone therapy, nothing. And I'm sitting Italian restaurant after dinner, sipping Sambuca. And this woman says to me, I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I would ever be with anybody like you. I swear I never.
Mm.
So I go, well, you can't handle this trans thing. I think you should leave now. And how many people are trans in Keene, New Hampshire? I mean, of course you didn't.
Yeah.
She goes, you know what? She goes, no. She goes, I never ever thought I'd be with an Italian guy. Okay.
Aw.
True story.
Yeah.
So that's an interpretation that little story you make up that could really affect, and then limiting beliefs. What did you hear growing up? You got to work hard for your money. That's one. Showing emotion is a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So all those feed into that gremlin that could get in the way of a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm. That other one, the people pleaser one, is definitely usually a skill that was taught in agreement. So there's this book called The Four Agreements, and this thing is like something I'm living by right now. And the four agreements are, and it's so fascinating how this is coming up in so many conversations. The first one is be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. Third one is don't make assumptions. And fourth one is always do your best. If you stick your mindset to those four agreements, then when it comes to that inner gremlin doesn't take control, because you're able to use this as a baseline to proceed in how you're engaging with people and yourself.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Where do you go when stress and conflict is in front of you?
Yeah.
Be a caregiver on a good day. I do this assessment for my coaching practice, and it tells you, I take something as abstract as how you handle conflict and puts it right in front of you. On a good day, I'm a caregiver. Of course, I'm a coach. I'm a caregiver. I'm, a collaborator. I want to work as a team. Once stress is introduced in my life, I go to victim, number one. 80% victim, 80%. Why? Because all the past experiences have formed my lenses that I look through the world now.
Yeah.
And they're not there. It's not true. So working with like a coach like us, coaches like us, we allow our clients to find themselves the tools. I don't give out. I let them kind of explore themselves and go, oh, wait a minute, that isn't true anymore. That was 3 relationships ago. Mm-hmm. This person standing in front of me today is not like that person but we hold that.
I'm curious. I'm wondering how you integrate that into your corporate teachings.
Because corporate coaching, leadership, I do 7 levels of leadership. Are you a catabolic leader or are you an anabolic leader? Do you force winds? Do you direct people or do you work with people? Do you share information or hide information? So I have this whole energy development leadership program, 13 segments, goes from everything from the 7 levels of leadership to emotional intelligence to productivity and all that I could bring to a company and shift that energy.
Yeah.
And I could do it on a personal level, shifting the energy, re-engineering the mindset of my clients.
There you go. There's the tools you're giving them, and the sharing the information versus not sharing the information. That's something that is challenged. I'm challenged with, because it's like, I want everyone to have all of the knowledge. One thing that I say is I teach people how to work with the engine of their body, which is their brain. We know how to press the gas pedal in our lives. We do not know how to press the brake. And if we press the brake, it's this miserable, terrible discomfort thing, because you're taught that pressing the brake is not okay. Right. Mm-hmm. But yet we don't know how to work with, and I translate it to obviously cars, because people get cars, they don't get neurological talk, and I get all nerdy on them and they're like, huh? So I say, okay, well, do you know how the pistons work with the oil and where the battery is connected to, and all those other like terminology for a car, an engine of a car? And people were like, no, I know how to press the gas pedal. The mechanic goes fix it. Well, there's not a mechanic to help fix your brain. I mean, there's therapists and counselors, and there's all these different ways of doing it. The chances of them bringing their car to get fixed are pretty significant. Their chances of them fixing their brain or helping understand their brain so they can work with their inabilities and abilities, right? Their limitations and all of their strengths. Accepting that we have limitations is such a power. It's so empowering. You're owning your power. You're taking your control. I'm someone who's like, yeah,
I can't do this right now. Or I don't, this isn't a skill that I can offer you currently. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
I don't want to, it just means that I'm currently hitting a wall, but I'm not going to hit that. I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to continue to move because I know limitations can turn into strengths, right? And I'm
Yeah.
okay with where I'm at.
It's a scary thing to do though.
It is.
It takes courage.
It does.
It takes courage
and
because
determination and resilience.
and determination. I remember when I first
Yeah.
started healing
Mm.
that I was like, "Huh, you know how long this is going to take? I'm so messed up. You know, how
Not
long
laughing at
like,
you,
you know,
but I would. I'm sure.
but that's what I said to myself.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, listen, first of all, it's not going to take too long, but it's that flipping that mindset. It's when you change the way you view the world changes.
Yes. Oh,
And-
I love that. Is that a quote you came up with, or where'd you
I
hear
think
that?
I saw it on no, I don't. I usually we requote.
Yeah, me too.
It said something like that. Maybe I shortened it a little bit so you could give it to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's all my iPad. It's IPEC training, is that's where I got my certification.
Mm.
That's all what it's about. Like attracts like energy. If you want to be in a great relationship, have a great person in front of you.
Mm.
In order to have a great person in front of you, you need to do the work for yourself so you could see that great person.
Mm.
That great person is going to see you who you are,
Yeah.
if they're healthy. And I really stick to that because I have so many friends that I was an overlapper. I was like, see ya. Okay, hi. I mean, that's how quick I was in another relationship.
Yeah.
And how healthy was that for anybody involved?
Mm.
But people don't want to hear it because some people need to be with somebody.
Mm.
And when you have that, it took me getting ghosted. Okay. I was friends with this woman 4 years. We saw each other every day. It was that hope relationship. Took her out to dinner. She came over, just enough keeping me on the string. And then one morning I texted her. I didn't hear from her. That was 7 years ago. Never heard from her again.
Mm.
It took that hurt. And I was so low to make me flip that switch to say, I just need a dog. I don't need a relationship. That's what happened. And how freeing
Yeah.
that was to not need somebody, to absolutely be able to love myself.
And not need, but want. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, and I usually give the example, right? And I'm so excited to have this like recording because when you see the video of us talking, it's just so much different than when you're listening. So thank you, listeners. Thank you, watchers. But to speak to the need, I need this. I need to be loved versus I want to be loved. I'm enjoying being loved. I am loved, right? It's a whole different approach to the relationship, the situation, whatever it is. And and that can go from I need this cashier to be specific and get me out of here on time because I need to get to this like that mindset of a lack versus I want to, thank you for taking care of my groceries. Thank you for cashing me out, right? Thank you for bagging my groceries. And I can't wait to get to the next appointment. I want to enjoy abundance and growth. It's just
That's exactly, we have to be conscious. And again, that 7 levels of leadership is 7 levels of consciousness. Stop defaulting.
Yeah.
Instead of reacting, respond.
Mm.
So when you say like, I don't know, it's just, it's a hard thing to do.
It is. And it's appropriate to stop and say, we're all going to react, right? And that's a limitation, accepting that we're all going to react. When we do the work to figure out how to respond, right? Then we can come back and say, and that's what healthy versus unhealthy is, right? Because unhealthy is someone who's constantly being stuck in what I would call the drama triangle, the dreaded drama triangle. Or not that I call it, I didn't come up with it. David Waldorf, I think, came up with it. But so the unhealthy is those who constantly get wrapped in the drama triangle and just get stuck there. The healthy are those who say, oh, wow, I was stuck in the drama triangle, but now I know, like I was reacting and now I'm responding. And thank you for being patient with me. I'm sorry that I reacted. That was my shit. And you didn't deserve to have that on your plate, right? Like, and when you did this, I perceived it as this way. Or if we're engaging in a relationship this way, I need to set better boundaries because when you do X, I can't handle that. And right? Communication, collaboration, compromise, accommodation.
Funny thing, boundaries. They're pretty simple.
Yeah,
what is okay with me and what's not okay with me?
Right.
But we tend to worry more about people liking us than setting those boundaries. But when we don't set boundaries, we become resentful.
Yeah.
But I'd rather set my boundaries and be loving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. than have people walk all over my boundaries or pass my line and
Difference
feel
between
hate and
healthy.
feel resentment.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell my clients, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, with the
Mhm.
minowanas. Okay. Because when you're comfortable with that discomfort means you're almost there.
Right.
Because, you know, I'll be honest with you, very comfortable being unhealthy for years for me.
Yeah.
I was used to it. I was used to drama in my life. So when there wasn't, I was like, where is it? And I would find it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
You know, I was like,
Yeah.
there's none over here. So there's some. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go over there and take their shit stuff
Yeah.
on. Sorry.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
Okay.
My listeners
So
know I have a potty mouth.
that comfortable being unhealthy,
Mm.
not good. So when you get a little uncomfortable means you're stepping out of your comfort zone,
Right.
which means you're almost there to, even if you just say, okay, listen, it's time for me to get healthy.
Mhm.
When you stop judging, taking things personally, you stop judging and your stress goes down. I mean, immediately.
Yeah.
So all these little tricks and trades, you know, that we do as coaches
Mm.
to say, just
See, I don't even call them tricks because it's just learning how to work with your brain. It's just learning how to take control in a healthy way. It's learning how to own your power and embrace who you are, which is exactly the work that I solely focus on.
yeah,
And to speak to this truth about intimacy, right? To wrap this to that why this podcast is so important, this episode is so important to be on this podcast is what we're talking about is all the ways to start looking at, right? Like start a new chapter. Just look at, okay, healthy versus unhealthy. Betray, if I feel betrayed and I'm reacting, how do I want to respond instead of react, right? And just question these things, the why question, and just write it down. Why do I do X? And then keep going and just answer and figure out, take the what's not real out of your head and make it real and tangible so that you can say, wow, when I think this, it feels 100% real. When I write it down, it looks like somebody just wrote a script for a new movie, right? Like
exactly.
it's not something that's real.
You know, is it true? Byron Katie, The Work. I don't know if anybody on the love
yeah.
her. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you start asking yourself, is it true what you just thought? And you'll go, yeah, it is. But then you really think about it and it isn't.
Yeah. Right. Or there's some other variations. Maybe part of it is true, but what else is there that makes it feel worse than what it may be?
Yeah. And for me, when, you know, tricking, when I say, you know, tricks and tools, we have to start re-engineering our mindset. And
Right,
that sometimes
right.
we have to, you know, kind of trick it a little bit to start thinking
Yeah.
that, you know, to view the world the way we want to manifest is what we get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, you know,
I love it. This is so exciting. I
this was fun.
appreciate yes, it was. It's so exciting to get nerdy with other coaches.
It's actually my first podcast ever. So it's like,
oh, yay. I'm happy to have broken your podcast, Jerry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Didn't hurt that much.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Thank you for being here, Nick. And we're going to put all of the your links and your bio and everything in the show notes. So if anyone would like to get in touch with our friend Nick here, please do so. Reach out to me or him. Bye.
Thanks, Steph.
You're welcome.